Hi, everyone, and a warm welcome to the next episode of the Releasing the Real You show, where we are going a little bit, I wouldn't say off topic, because it's still something to do with well-being, maybe a little bit less about health, but definitely about well-being, confidence, and self-esteem. Today, I have an exciting guest, Eimear Draper, who is a dating coach. Yes, today we're talking all about dating and how we feel, etc., can influence our dating experience. So Eimear works mostly with women, not all of them, also a few men who are a bit lost when it comes to dating, maybe have tried a lot of stuff before and are a little bit burnt out, or some that start their dating journey and want to do it in a much more exciting and satisfying way, if I can say it that way. So warm welcome.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit more about you and how you got started, really.
Okay, so I am Eimear. I spent most of my 20s single, mostly in London as well, which is an interesting place to date, to say the least. I think I did everything: speed dating, online dating, getting dolled up on a night out, looking over your shoulder all night to see who was there. Had some kind of flings or short-term things. And it wasn't really till I was in my 30s, and I moved to Hong Kong, actually, which was the one place I hated being single. I hated it. I just felt genuinely lonely there because I think all the other connections, like your family and everything, were removed. And I started dating somebody there, and it was all good. Probably not the best person for me, a bit younger, quite a bit younger, but it did make me kind of go, oh, actually, I forgot what it was like to be in a relationship, and I missed this, and I liked it, and why haven't I had this for the last 10 years, even though I've been trying? And I kind of started to realize it was because I had a lot of walls up. I had a lot of defenses in place so that I didn't really let people in. And anyway, that relationship ended and I moved back to London. And in my head, I went, you know what? I want somebody. I want to have a family. I want to build a life. I need to find somebody before I let all these walls go back up again. So possibly not the healthiest thing to have done, to be honest, but I just absolutely threw myself into online dating for over a year. Literally went on so many dates, kind of project managed myself through the process, even though I was still heartbroken, but I kind of used that as a bit of a motivation to be like, no, need to keep going. And reminding myself like what it was like to feel like you were, I don't know, like you had somebody and you're being cared for and you were caring for them as well. And yeah, after probably 18 months, maybe a bit more, I met my husband through Tinder. We've been together 7 years now. And in between having our two babies, I had some time out of work. I started my counseling studies. And when I was doing those, I was like, you know what? All this stuff that I'm learning that we usually apply to weight loss or to addiction therapy, we need for people that are stuck in dating, because it's now so overwhelming with all the apps, all the online, just, it's like, I don't know, you just get stuck in these really negative cycles that don't feel very nice. And the older you get, the less single friends you have, so the less you have to talk to people about it. And it becomes this like quite internal thing as well. Because, back in the old days when you went out and you tried to chat somebody up and they said no, you just kind of brushed it off. It was like, right, okay, that was the end of it. But if you're at home swiping through, sending messages and nobody's messaging back, it kind of really gets in on you, I think.
Do
And
you
yeah,
think that's why dating today is harder than it was in the past?
I think it was
Because of
always
the
hard.
apps and stuff, or is it just life or
I personally think it was always hard. I think we have rose-tinted glasses about what it was like. Because I don't know if you remember getting dressed up to go out on a night, and like there is the whole negative self-talk about, oh, I look fat in this, try on that outfit, try on this outfit. You finally get yourself looking nice. You go out, you meet your friends. I had used to have like a gang of girlfriends I went out with, specifically kind of on a Saturday night kind of thing. And it was like, it was just this kind of everyone's looking over their shoulders and it's not really that much fun. And then you come home and you get your bag of chips on the way home because you're like, no, it didn't meet anyone. Oh, well, that was a waste of time. clean the makeup off, and forget about it all. And then I don't know, I think online, yes, it's overwhelming. Yes, we can get into negative cycles with it, but it does open up so many more opportunities. And it's just about having a positive mindset, and kind of treating it as the tool it is. Like, I think we invest almost too much into it, and we get really like, you're trying to create all these connections whilst on this little app that you've just seen a few pictures and a few little lines that somebody's written about them, but you've never actually met them. And it's not till you meet them that you can see if there's chemistry or not. So yeah, I think I don't know. I think it's different. I don't know if it's better or worse, but
Yeah.
it's definitely
What
overwhelming.
are your thoughts really about all these apps that are out there, be it Bumble, Tinder, etc.? Do you think, obviously, it opens, a route to meet lots of people you wouldn't meet on a day-to-day basis, for instance, but at the same time, I don't know, the feeling I have is that it's very superficial because you base your thoughts or your decision just on the pictures that are out there.
Yeah.
Or is there more to it?
I think, yeah, both really. Like, yes, it's definitely superficial. I think some clients I've worked with, we've kind of started with them kind of saying, oh, I never match with anyone. Nobody ever likes me on Tinder, Bumble, or whatever. And then when I kind of go, okay, well, can you observe how you're using the app? How long are you spending? How many profiles are you swiping through? How many are you swiping yes to? How many are you swiping no to? We discovered that you're swiping no to like 90% of people. So it's this kind of weird cycle of like, you're saying no to people, but then you're taking it as people have said no to you. You've actually shrunk down the pool. So it's really like, what I try to do is like, one, work on mindset, that it's like, okay, let's be positive and open to opportunities. And the app is just a tool. It's not the be all and end all. Don't get upset if somebody doesn't respond back, but also then give quite practical guidance on like, okay, let's treat it as we would call it in business, lead generation. And you send the net wide, you put as many people in there as you can. Don't be afraid to send the messages out. And if they don't come back, they're not your person. You just want to find one person, right? You don't want to have somebody to date every single
Well,
night for a month.
yes, definitely. So what you're saying is stop saying no to so many people, and stop swiping left to so many people, and start just sending messages out and see what happens.
Yeah, and it's just being mindful and having intention with it, because I think that's one of the problems definitely with it, that you can just sit there and mindlessly swipe. And I think quite often you find if you swipe no to like 5 or 6 people, suddenly you've realized you've just kept on going swiping no to everyone that's come through, because that's just the mindset that you've gotten into. So it's being like really mindful and conscious of what you're doing, and start with like, what is it I want? Because again, we can get a bit like a kid in a candy shop when you go in there and you're like, well, I want a long-term relationship, but also haven't really had a kiss in a while, so a little fling wouldn't be bad, so I'll chuck in those younger guys as well. And like, you just get a bit like, oh, well, maybe something will come from this. And then it's just kind of like spreading the net maybe a bit too wide. I don't know. But yeah, just been like really like focus on what it is you want. Don't get distracted by, yes, it's looks based, and yes, you need to fancy somebody, but people don't always take good pictures. And if you can look at a picture and say, well, that person looks like they've got a nice smile,
Yeah.
or they look like they would be fun if we went for a drink or a walk or whatever, and just kind of try get it from that initial swipe to something like as quick as possible, because yeah, all the messaging on the apps, that's definitely the death of anything happening.
That's an interesting one, isn't it? You kind of build up a picture of the person just by the messages, and then when you do meet, you are often very disappointed because you have built your own image of that person depending
Definitely.
on
I
the
think
messages.
if the messages go on for too long, I think there's maybe 3 things that happen. One, it kind of fizzles out because you can't really maintain a conversation with somebody you've never met. 2, you find reasons to discount them because you're like actively looking for reasons to say no you're not right. Or 3, you build up this fantasy that reality can absolutely never live up to.
Yeah, that's very, very
We've
interesting.
all watched way too many rom-coms, haven't we?
We have, for sure. So when it comes to the, I look at it, obviously, I come from it from a health or image perspective. Obviously, all these dating apps are very, very picture-based. Some don't write any content at all and just have the pictures and the age and whatever, and hoping, obviously, the age is correct to whatever it is. But obviously that means that if you are not confident within your own body and within the way you look at yourself, what would be your top tips for someone who is struggling with that, body image? Because obviously we swipe, and when it comes to women, we swipe generally for men, depending on what they look like. And as you say, some pictures, I mean, I have met guys who look way better in reality than they are in pictures, or the other way around as well. So what would be your top tip when someone just feels a bit icky within themselves?
One of the exercises I get every client to do is to make a list of everything that they like about themselves, and that's physical attributes, but also personality and kind of that depth within you. And because I think that's the thing with dating, you get really stuck in this, like, it's about somebody liking you and making somebody find you attractive, but actually it's just as much about you finding somebody, and you have so much to offer, and you're not just whatever size you are on that day. So like reminding yourself that, oh, actually, yeah, I've got like all this other stuff about me, and I'm really caring, and I'm really loving, and I'll make a great partner, and I'll really look after somebody, and we can be a team together. None of that is dependent on what size you are. And that can kind of give you the boost. And then on the more kind of like physical side of things, like get pictures that you're happy with, like, and if that means you need to get a friend to come out with you and you get all dolled up and go for a walk and get some proper pictures where they're like lying down on the ground to take them at a better angle, then do it. Like, whatever.
So would you suggest, interestingly enough, so for me, it's kind of when I meet someone, I like to meet them as they are, as opposed to getting dolled up. Like, as you can see, I don't really do makeup. So if I do go on a date, there's barely any makeup on me at all. But do you think people should make the effort to dress up and look better than what they would on a day-to-day basis? I'm just curious to hear your take with it.
No, you do whatever is right for you and whatever feels comfortable for you. So if you're not a makeup person, then don't wear makeup. Like, I always think as well, like with dating, we get into this kind of trick as well of presenting a facade, and at some point that has to slip, right? Like at some point, if you are together, 6 months time, you go on a holiday, one of you is going to get food poisoning, and I mean, you're going to see everything, right? So, like, at some point, you need to be able to just be like, this is me, take it or leave it. And that goes for, sorry, there's a big sun coming in on me. That goes for everything. It goes for appearance. It goes for how you behave, like how you interact with somebody. You get all this kind of, I'm just gonna hold on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Nice to finally see the sun, actually.
Most likely yet, but yeah.
But yeah, like you get all this stuff about like, oh, lean into your feminine energy, and the guy should ask you out, and he should pay for everything. I was like, well, if that's not you, and that's not how you operate in life, then you can't pretend that's you for 2-3 months just to create a relationship, because that relationship is then on a kind of false ground, right?
Definitely.
Everything has to be what's right for you and what's comfortable for you. But I would say actually on a first date, I could really like this idea of the pre-date. So you don't treat it as a first date, like you don't do Saturday night dolled up dinner, the whole shebang, because it's just
5 minutes coffee, 15 minutes coffee, max.
Putting way too much expectation on it. Meet for a walk, an hour, a coffee, and just like, just have that like initial, we're meeting, and then you decide, oh, is there something else here? And again, you're going into that meeting, and it's not like, is this person the one? It's like, did I enjoy this 1 hour with this person? would I like to have 3 hours with them?
Hmm.
Something else. And like that's the only question you're answering, instead of like jumping 5 years down the road.
Yeah, I love that actually. Yeah, I mean, I know I have been on like dinner dates, and some of them were just atrocious. So yeah, definitely coffee or walk is perfect as a
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have different advice or coaching for someone in their 20s, someone is in their 40s, or someone who's divorced with kids? Would your advice and coaching be different, or would it actually be the same, just that you need to look at different things that you want?
So the coaching that I do is led by the client, and it's kind of basically broken into two halves. So one is the kind of mindset work, the behavior change work, letting go of your old story, which is quite a big one for a lot of us, and that can happen at any age. And then the other one is just the practical, how do you navigate dating?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's a bit if that's online, maybe it's speed dating, maybe it's just being more open, setting the intent that you're going to see more opportunities. And then like anything can happen. I just had a client come back to me this week actually. And when we were doing the program together, she was like so anti online dating, but doing it, but like every day it was like ugh, 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 ugh. And at the back of the program, she just got really like clear on what she wanted and what her boundaries were and what she wasn't going to accept. And then she ended up meeting somebody on holidays, and they're getting married in August. And it's
Oh,
like, who needs
fantastic.
on holidays anymore, right?
I know,
So
I know.
it's just
It's a big
it's that
success
switch.
story.
Yeah, it's that switch in your mindset to take it out of that kind of negative. um I think that is one challenge with online dating. It's like, oh, all these apps
Hmm.
have horrible people on it, and it's all like transactional and ghosting and la 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 la. But actually, if you just switch it back to like me, and the focus is on me and what I want and what I want to achieve, and believing that I will achieve it, then anything can happen, right?
Hmm. So
I
that's
don't
what
know if that
you
answered the
really
question.
work on, is helping people with their own self-belief and you know, finding their values and what they want.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then once you project that to the world,
yeah.
you will end up finding someone in whatever
Yeah,
circumstances you
yeah,
want.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I mean, we just get stuck into like what the mode is, but actually it's
Hmm.
bringing that focus back to you. Um, but online dating does throw up some really good stories. So you end up getting stuck in it quite a lot, which is what we've done for the first half of this.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, it can happen in any environment for sure. But I think today online dating is probably the most common, only because it opens to
Yeah,
so many, men or women that you normally wouldn't meet on a day-to-day basis. So, it expands the pool massively of
yeah, yeah,
potential
yeah,
people. Yeah.
yeah. Like I think the stats now are like over 50% of people getting married have met through online.
Really? Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. I think that's for a specific generation, which I can't quite remember, but yeah. It's like who would have thought that 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Had to
That's
consider.
really, really interesting. Yeah. So mindset, which obviously what I work with my clients with, is a hell of a lot of mindset as well.
Yeah,
Building up that confidence and
yeah,
that self-esteem, finding your values and your
yeah,
boundaries. Any other getting the right pictures if already doing online dating?
yeah.
Any other tips that you could share?
I think one of the main things is like that kind of idea of like it's just one person, and we can get really upset when somebody you're messaging then just disappears, and it's like, what did I do
Mhm.
wrong? It's like, you did nothing wrong. They weren't your person. You don't know what's going on with them. You'll never know why they didn't message you back. So instead of going down that little rabbit warren, you just kind of go, right, not my person, move on, next.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's one of the things as well. Even when you run your own business, you get a
yeah,
lead and suddenly they die, they become very quiet. And you're
yeah,
like, oh, did I not do this or did I not do that or something like that? Or
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But it's you don't know what's going on with that person. Something's going on in their lives that they're not ready, and
yeah.
that's a lot. There's nothing you can do about it.
Mhm.
um. So yeah, and oh, there's loads of stuff I keep going on about, but when you put me
Of
on the spot, I'm
course.
like, oh, one thing.
No, not one thing. I mean, obviously, there's lots of different things. I mean, I think we've all been in in good relationships and bad relationships, or some that have been good and then turned sour, or fizzled out, and some that started a bit weird and then became something great. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting to see. It's, it can be anything and everything.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think like it's just having that vulnerability, to be honest, about what you want. Because I know for me, like when I said I had all these walls and defenses up, I was like, oh, I don't need anybody. I've got a great life. I've got a good career, la la la. And that's what I was telling myself, because it was nicer than saying I was lonely. And when you get like all the relatives and the aunties and the mammies being like, oh, you haven't met anyone, like that's a nice story to tell them, because it's
Especially at family events or holidays.
yeah,
Yeah.
another wedding on my own,
Yeah.
yay. um but then you start projecting that, right? And you're going on dates, but you're projecting this like, nope, don't need you. And it's not exactly a warm reception that you're giving to somebody. So it's really like being careful with that story that you're telling yourself. And
Do
that,
you think everyone would be, just throwing it out there, everyone would be better if they were in a relationship? Or do you think that some people are actually better off being on their own?
no, I think it's, again, it's entirely based on you and what is right for you. Like some people have, like you say, been there, done that, and are like, actually, I'm quite happy on my own. I have lots of friends that will openly say, no, don't want to go there ever again. Um, and yeah, but if there's a bit of you that actually is like telling that story, but there's evenings where you're like, actually, I am a bit lonely and I don't want to have to find somebody to go on holidays with. I just want to be able to stay here and book it with somebody that's sitting beside me, or, don't want to go to another family event on my own. Like those are the kind of symptoms, I think, sometimes that, just sometimes let us see a little bit into the wound that we're hiding. And one of the silver linings out of COVID was that all that busyness was just taken away, and we had to sit with ourselves and go, right, okay, am I happy? And am I content? Do I need more? And it was like hard, definitely, but not always nice, but it also gave like quite a bit of clarity, I think, because it's so easy just to keep yourself busy, and that's like the best defense ever. It's just like keep going out.
That's actually really interesting. I hadn't thought of COVID as an opportunity to rethink about what you really want, especially if you live on your own.
Yeah.
And
And
felt
myself and
very
my
lonely.
husband actually, when it was getting towards the end of lockdowns, that we were like, right, okay, let's like just sit down and work through this. Like, what did we enjoy from lockdowns? What did we miss? And what are we going to bring forward? And we still have it stuck on the inside of the cupboard in the kitchen as a bit of a reminder of like, okay, we don't miss the crazy busy out every night, not seeing each other. Let's not go back there, which we
Yeah.
haven't, because we have two babies now anyway, so we never go out.
My nieces would have said having mama's lunch every day, every school day. So that was their best thing of lockdown, which is quite an interesting one. But actually, it's a great exercise to do in general. About, I'm a big believer that on a regular basis, we need to do a little bit of a sit back and reflect and ask yourself the questions of actually what's going well, what's not going well,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
why, and what can we do about it. So
yeah,
it to me, it feels that there's just so many similarities between, working on your health or working on dating. It's just another project
yeah,
with the same tools and techniques to use
yeah.
to make it a success, whatever way you want. Yeah.
It was funny because I just did a video the other week for my Instagram, and I was like, when you think about it, like the work that we'll put into getting healthy, to losing weight, you will openly say that's a goal. You'll put in the hours and you'll make it happen. The work that you put into your career, of like all the hours that you did, like studying and applying for jobs and swatting up before interviews, even like buying or renting a place to live. Like you sign up to all these websites, you walk all the streets. And then the one thing that most of us deep down want is somebody to share it with. But we kind of go, oh, it's out of my control. It's like, it's up to faith, and it's, you
Mhm.
know, the stars align, and we just get a bit scared because it's so vulnerable putting yourself out there. And unfortunately you will get rejection. You will. That's just part of it. And you need to like have the resilience for that.
Yeah, but then again, even with job interviews, you get rejections as well.
Mhm.
So, you know, you absolutely have to deal with it for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't until I like properly like talked myself through it. I was like, that's actually bonkers. It's bonkers the amount of effort that we put into everything else apart from the one thing that we don't want to say out loud that we want.
Mhm.
And I think particularly for women at the moment, I think it's maybe seen as a bit of a sign of weakness if you want to say, I want a traditional like marriage and babies, and that's what I want, because it's like, oh, but don't you want a career, and aren't you independent and strong on your own? It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
can
I
do that as
think
well.
especially now with, you know, the whole thing of equality and equity, etc. I'm not saying it's bad or anything, but for some women, it might make them think that, you know, putting it out there that they want a more traditional way or you
Mm,
know is the wrong thing to do. So
yeah.
yeah, that's an important message there that you put out there, that you know it's okay to say what you want to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think there's a difference between women and men when it comes to dating? I mean, I see a bit of a difference when it comes to women and men when it comes to, you know, working on your health and weight loss, in the sense that men just, most men, not all, put way less emotions into it, and just when you give them the tools they just go and run with it,
Yeah.
while women have, obviously we have our hormones, but there's also, you know, lots of thinking and emotions attached to it, as opposed to men who just, you know, can drop it much easier.
Yeah.
Just go
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. I definitely think there's an element of that. I think there's also, this is going to be a bit controversial, but I do think it's a bit harder for men dating. Um,
Really.
yeah, I think for some reason we still apply 1950 standards and expect them to message first and to ask you out first. So that means they're sending, you know, 10 messages and getting no response of an evening.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're like, oh, well, if you messaged and you just said, hi, I'm not responding because you didn't put any effort in. I was like, but if you like crafted 10 beautiful messages before and nobody responded, of course he's just going to send hi. So you have to give him a chance, right? And I think also there's definitely bad apples out there, and there's definitely people that are manipulating the tools of online dating for not, well, for selfish gains, but you know, maybe not being
Mm-hmm.
completely honest as well. But then we brandish everyone the same, right? We go, oh, they're all cheaters, they're all just looking for one thing. And it's like, well, that's not true either. There's, I would say the majority are genuinely looking for a connection as well. And again, if you think of women, we'll get together and we'll chat about it, and I will probably have a bit of a bitch about it, but like we'll get it out. Whereas guys are just holding that all in to themselves, which I think must be quite tough.
That's an
Um,
interesting one. I mean, I know, so I have a lot of, you know, girlfriends that are single. I have a lot of men that are friends, male friends that are single as well. And actually, I hear the same stories from both sides.
mhm.
So, you know, the lying, the, you know, all the other bits and pieces. But yeah, you're right. You are right. Lots of women still, you know, feel that they are in the 19s, whatever,
Yeah.
where the men need to do everything. And you know, men probably have the same insecurities and
Mm.
than women when it comes to
Yeah,
dating, for
definitely. Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, like one of the drivers for me as well is because I met my husband Sam through Tinder, and he's got two brothers that were online dating as well, and like a couple of friends, and like seeing it from their side of how tough they were finding, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is
Mhm.
like in some way it's almost created them versus us that I'm not sure existed before. Um, that's making even more barriers to actually getting people connecting.
Yeah, but it is true that if someone sends you a hi, you kind of like, oh my God, definitely hasn't put in the effort. So let's move to the next one. That's something that I know for myself. I've done it loads of times.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, and also writing a profile maybe doesn't come as easily for men than
Mm.
for women. So they're
Yeah.
discarded and disregarded straight away, especially if the pictures might not be, you know, pictures in bathrooms and, and all that kind of stuff. We've seen them
I
all in the
mean,
bathroom mirror, you know.
I will say there's no excuse for that.
Yeah.
That's a down swipe, no.
Yeah. So we have to remember that as well.
But with the, that high message, what I try to do is just match the energy. So if they've sent a hi, they get a hi back. And then I wait for them to give a bit more of a sentence. And then I give a bit more of a sentence back. And
That's an interesting one. That's a good tip for sure. And see what
instead of just
happens.
discounting, give them a chance.
Yeah. But it's true that if you've written such a long message before and no one replied, then you're just gonna go the other way around and just say hi and see what happens.
Yeah.
So very, very good one. So so obviously you mentioned your coaching works on lots of different things when it comes with the person itself, as opposed to what to write on your profile, etc. So it's really finding yourself first before even would you say it's better to work on yourself first before putting yourself out there so that you get less burnt out or stuff like that? Or can it be done at the same time just so that you see the progress happening?
Yeah, I try to encourage people to do it at the same time, because otherwise we'll just use it as another excuse to hold off and to wait. Like I know in the past I've often been like, oh, I'll sign up once I've lost more weight. And it's like, well, no, because that's like how long is a piece of string? And it's just another kind of defense mechanism to hide yourself and just get out there. And it's also like what I try to do through the program is like, let's gather the learning as you're going. So what would you do differently? How could you have maybe interacted differently? Or maybe that app isn't right for you, let's try a different one. And if you leave all that till you finish the self-work, will you kind of forget the self-work by the time you get back to doing it again?
That's a very good point you're making there. Definitely. So how can people get hold of you? I know you launched your app recently, very recently.
This week, that's why I'm so tired.
Where are you the most active when it comes to, how can people get hold of you?
So I'm on Instagram is probably the most active one.
By the way, all the details on how to get hold of you will be in the description of. So
thanks. Kindling_dating on Instagram. And then my website is kindlingdating.com, and there's lots of blogs up there. And you can just get like a bit more feel for it. And the app is coming soon to App Store and Android Store. That is, so it's in kind of like pre-launch mode at the moment, where I recruiting some founding members to work really closely with me on a 6-week challenge, which is Get Your Love Story Started. 6-week challenge. Which I quite like, that it's just like it's gonna go full at it, short, sharp, and get it started, get the foundations in place for then people to lead it themselves.
Well, everyone's would be. I mean, if you think of 6 weeks, that leads you somewhere to early summer. Wouldn't it be nice to find someone, by summertime?
I mean, that used to be a killer, wasn't it? Walking around the park and all these couples are having their little picnics and like just lying in the sun. You're like, oh, God, I'm fine being single.
Definitely.
That one at Christmas, going home again, being like, no, nobody.
Yes, definitely. Or going to a family wedding.
So
6 weeks before anything you've major, get in touch with you and get things going. No, I'm joking. I mean, it's something that we should do on, whenever, as you said, there's no right time to start. And as I always say with my clients as well, the right time will never happen. So let's start today for sure. Anything else you would like to add before we say goodbye?
No, just believe it's gonna happen. Believe in love. I have been my tagline I've been using this week is bring back that loving feeling. So I've been singing the song from Top Gun in my head all week.
Great movie, one of my favorite movies.
I definitely.
Although I have to say that when Maverick came out, I didn't think it would top the first one, but
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, you should. If you love Top Gun, and I watched Top Gun probably, I don't know how many times, go watch Maverick. It is just incredible. Way better than love story wise, probably a little bit less. but oh my God, there's still the whole thing, because what's interesting, I won't spoil it, is, you know, what happened after with the love story that happened.
Yeah.
And so definitely go and watch it. So thank you very much for your time today. Hope you all enjoyed this episode, which is, as I said, a little bit different when it comes to, you know, health, but it is an important one because obviously it affects our well-being as such. So get in touch, and I will see you all in one of our next episodes. If you haven't subscribed yet to the playlist, do so now, and then you'll be updated on the upcoming episodes. Have a good one. See you all very soon.
Thanks.
Ooh, I lost the recording. There we go.